Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start this evening. I want to say good evening. I'm Cecil Hensel. Most of you know me as Bud. I'm the District 2 Deputy for Lake Region Electric Cooperative, and I'm thankful for serving as your director the last 3 years. I would like to welcome those of you here in person and those of you that are joining us virtually for your district meeting. If you are joining us virtually, please use the chat feature available at any time during the meeting for your questions. We will be responding to those questions, and for those of you that are in person and or live streaming at the end of this briefing from our CEO, Tim Thompson. If we do not get to those questions this evening, please be assured that an employee from Lake Region Electric Co-op will follow up in the next several days with you. A gathering like this district meeting drives home the point that Lake Region Electric Cooperative is different than many other utilities. We are different because we put you, the members, first and at the center of everything we do. We continue to enter exciting times in our cooperative history. I'm excited to announce that we are once again holding 3 in-person annual meeting locations this year. One at the Life Church in Fergus Falls, one here at the Frazee Event Center, and one at the Prairie Event Center in Parkers Prairie. The annual meeting date has been scheduled a bit earlier this year. It will take place April 13th at 6:30 p.m. As in the past years, members will also be able to live stream the annual meeting. I am honored to be part of the cooperative that receives national recognition by being presented with the annual 2002 National Rural Electric Cooperative Association's Cooperative Purpose Award. This award recognizes electric cooperatives that work with their membership to make outstanding contributions which result in visible, lasting improvements to the quality of life and to the purpose of the cooperative in the community. Lake Region's receiving this award is great, but I think it's even better that our peers on the board of directors of the Minnesota Rural Electric Association, consisting of representatives from the Minnesota Electric Cooperatives, nominated the co-op for this award. Lake Region's members have had rate stability for several years, seeing only one general service rate increase in the last decade. But we know with the rising costs requires us to generate more revenue beginning this year. For our load management members, we increased our rates effective at the beginning of the year. We hope that we have provided you with plenty of notice on these increases through our newsletters and other forms of communications. Your board of directors has approved other general service rate changes that go into effect in September. And those changes will be explained during CEO Tim Thompson's presentation this evening. We continue to be good stewards of the hard-earned money entrusted to us by our members. An example of this is our administrative and general costs are lower today than they were 15 years ago. And the strategic action taken by the co-op have provided rate stability for several years, with members experiencing only that one general service rate increase over the last decade. A large portion of this rate stability has resulted of the co-op being creative in their generating new revenue streams. From the natural gas company that the cooperative started, acquiring ownership in Carr's Tree Service, which does all of our vegetation management, the wind and solar project in Earnhardt, and the standby generator program. Please be assured that our focus remains on doing everything we can to minimize the impact on your rates during these times that we are seeing rising costs of so many other services that we rely on for daily life. New technologies continue to be adopted and incorporated at Lake Region to ensure our members the most reliable service we can provide. I would like to thank the employees who have made it their priority to engage with and listen to our members. Lake Region wouldn't be in business if not for all of you, our member owners. You are the reason for our existence, and you share in our success. We have made it a priority to continue to look for ways to transform our member experience with Lake Region. I would like to recognize that Lake Region celebrated its 85th anniversary this last year. A celebration last fall was dedicated to the men and women, past, present, future, that strive to serve the membership of Lake Region Electric Cooperative. I would like to thank all of you members, directors, and employees for staying engaged, working together to continue to move forward the great cooperative started by so many hardworking people in 1937. Switching gears, I'm glad that you could join us to learn more about Lake Region Electric Cooperative and participate in local democracy by participating in the nomination process this evening. We need a meeting chair for our district meeting to preside over the nomination process. I would propose that our attorney, Chad Feldstuhl, be the meeting chair for the district meeting. Does anyone have any other nominations or nominees to act as chair for the meeting? Thank you. Seeing none, your chairman for the meeting is Chad Feldstuhl. Before the nominating process begins, I want to introduce the rest of the board of directors. Their pictures and districts are listed on the screen here tonight. We have Kurt Kruger from the Rossa area in District 1, myself from Frazee area in District 2, Mike Brazel from the Perm area in District 3, Earl Rydell from the Dent area in District 4, Pat Myers from the Cormorant area in District 5, Charlie Blix from the from the Pelican Rapids area in District 6, Tom Jenin from the Fergus Falls area in District 7, Sid Wisnes from the Battle Lake area in District 8, and Gary Olson from the Parkers Prairie area in District 9. Our meeting continues now with the nominations. Our meeting chair will guide you through the process. Chad, will you please step forward?
Thank you, Bud. Good evening, everyone. There are two ways that a candidate can be nominated to be a candidate for a director position. The first is through the district meeting process, and that is the reason why you are all here tonight, where you make a nomination for an individual to serve as a director. The second is through a written petition process that happens after this district meeting. An individual wishing to go through the petition process has to get at least 50 signatures from the district in which they seek nomination. There are other requirements for the petition process that are found in our bylaws in Article 4, Section 4.4b of our bylaws. As chairman for this district meeting, I have appointed Greg Larson as our recording secretary, and I have also appointed Dwayne Sonnenberg and Douglas Anderson to serve as tellers for this meeting if voting is required. The tellers will physically count the ballots by those of you cast here in person and certified to the members the results of the meeting. Since more than 10 members of this district are present, I declare that we have a quorum. Now, when you're making a nomination, I would ask that you speak clearly, identify yourself by stating and spelling your name, as well as stating and spelling the name of the individual you are nominating for the director position. You can nominate someone yourself, or someone can nominate you. Are there any questions about the nomination process? Hearing no questions, I declare the nomination process to be open. Again, when you make a nomination, please state and spell your name for the record. According to our bylaws, the nomination process must be open for 2 minutes. A time clock on the screen will indicate when the nominations are closed. We can open the nominations. Are there any nominations? Yes, sir.
My name is Tom Trigloff, Triglamm. I'd like to nominate our current director and incumbent, Cecil Bud Hensel.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hensel has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? And just so you know, this used to be 3 minutes. We shortened it to 2 in our bylaws. So you can thank all the rest of the membership for shortening that to 2 minutes instead of 3. 3 was a long time to stand up here. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? If there are no other nominations, is there a motion that nominations for director be closed? Would someone be willing to make that motion?
I make a motion nominations closed. Tom Watson, W-A-T-S-O-N.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second to Tom's motion?
I'll second. Roger Schaefer.
Thank you, Roger. It has been moved and seconded that nominations for director be closed. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bud, would you please stand? To the best of your knowledge, do you meet the qualifications for director? If so, please state yes.
Yes.
Would you like to speak?
Say a couple more things.
All right. 3 minutes or less.
3 minutes or less? Oh, that would be hard. No. I'm not a politician, but sometimes I get carried away. I want to thank everybody here for nominating me to serve you again. It's really been a good experience. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm from the area. I live 3 miles north of Frazee here, fairly close. Grew up out in the Wolf Lake area. My parents are originally from the Park Rapids area. Married Sharon, maiden name Schreiner. She's originally from the Frazee area all of her life. Went to college, 12 years running around the country in the Air Force, came back to the area in 1993, and we've lived here since, and got involved a little bit with Dennis Mathias and asked me to, be involved in the board, so I was nominated last year, and it's really been good experience. Retired from the Air National Guard and still working with the airlines, but along with doing the board. I've been very impressed with your board at Lake Region Electric Rock. All very talented, knowledgeable individuals on that board. all have a great insight for where they want to, how they want to keep our electric cooperative viable, because the more viable our co-op is, the more clout we have with our power generator, Great River Energy, to make sure that we can always get the best value for you, the members, owners, as we go forward. And that's really what we strive to do. Everything we're doing is to make sure that we can be more reliable, keep our energy costs down as much as possible to provide it, because I'm one of those people too. I pay electric bill and I look at mine every month, you know, and see what is going on. So appreciate being nominated and hope to be able to continue to work to do the best we can to keep costs under control, to keep reliable as high as possible. When Mother Nature lets us, make sure it's her that's causing it and not us for you, because there's nothing worse than getting up in the morning without electricity or going to bed at night without it anymore. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bud. And since there's only one candidate nominated, Doug and Dwayne are off the hook after I twisted their arm to be tellers tonight. So if there is only one candidate and no one is later runs by petition or gets the appropriate signatures by petition, Bud will be elected by acclamation at the annual meeting in April. If there is someone that comes forward with a petition with the appropriate signatures, then both names will be put on the ballot and you will have a vote at the annual meeting on April 13th. Now I would like to introduce Lake Region CEO Tim Thompson.
Thank you, Chad. Am I on? All right, can you hear me okay? Wonderful. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening to participate in your district meeting. These district meetings are such an important part of your cooperative. It's a great opportunity for members to come together at the local grassroots level to participate in your district director election process, an opportunity to visit with your board of directors and several of the employees from Lake Region who are here this evening. I personally love these meetings. They're very motivating to me. Just the short conversations I've already had here tonight are motivating to us as we go back to our jobs and continue to try to build this cooperative into the future to continue to serve you the best that we can, to the best of our ability. Let me start this evening by talking about member engagement. District meetings are a great example of member engagement. We are continuously trying to reach out to our members to increase our member engagement. These two programs on the screen here are a couple of examples of the new things we're doing here in the last couple of years. One is our Coffee with the Co-op program. Another one is our Apps and Chaps. We are setting up meetings in local cafes. We had one here in Frazee last summer. Just inviting members in. Have a cup of coffee and a roll with us, and let's just talk about Lake Region, or the energy industry, or whatever the members want to talk about. We get a lot of good information and a lot of good connections with members out of these types of meetings. The center of the screen there, that map of our service territory, each one of those dots represents a location throughout our large service territory where we've had some form of member engagement over the last couple of years. Again, trying to have engagement across our large footprint of our service territory. Another new thing we're doing is our virtual Member Advisory Council, or our VMAC, as we call it. Much like a traditional advisory committee where we ask members a lot of questions, we share a lot of information with them on a variety of topics. Well, this one's virtually, so members don't have to show up at a location at a certain time. We do this through a private Facebook account, and members can participate very conveniently for them when it works for their schedule. We love getting that feedback. It's good information for us to hear from the members that feeds our strategic thinking and our strategic planning. One of the questions that we like to ask members is this one on the screen here. Do you consider yourself a member or a customer? And what's so interesting about that question is if people feel like they're a member instead of a customer, they're much more satisfied with their co-op, and that's why we've made this big effort to increase our member engagement. As Bud mentioned, our annual meeting is going to be earlier this year, April 13th, and we're really excited about it again. Last year, we changed our format. Instead of having that one location in Fergus Falls for the in-person annual meeting, we now have 3 locations where members can go to our annual meeting in person. The primary location is still Fergus Falls, but with our technology, we can live stream that event into right here in Frazee. And if anybody was at the annual meeting here last year, would love to talk to you tonight and see how that went for you. We're in the planning cycle, for the next annual meeting. And if there's some tweaks and adjustments we can make to improve that experience, we'd love to hear that from you. And then down in Parker's Prairie. So if you look at our service territory map here with these 3 locations, 98% of our members live within 25 miles of one of those 3 sites. At each site, you get your $10 bill credit. You get a nice meal. So please join us on April 13th. We also have the virtual option. If you can't make it, you can join us online. With this new model last year, over 1,200 members participated in that annual meeting, which is wonderful, a nice increase in participation. We want to keep that going into the future years here. We've added a member opportunity this year. Back when we were hunkered down in COVID, we thought, wow, when we get through this and we can start meeting again, let's do something fun for the members, with the members. So we're going to do a Member Appreciation Day this year. It's going to be at Glendalough State Park on June 8th. You're all invited to that. Bring your family, bring your grandkids. This is going to be a fun day of fellowship and food for us. There won't be any entry fee into the park. We'll have some prizes and things. We're going to have some electric bicycles there, electric vehicles. You can check those out. Just come out and join us, and just a great way to express our appreciation to our member owners. Hope to see you at Glendalough on June 8th. Well, I'm very pleased to share with you tonight the results of our 2022 Customer Satisfaction, Member Satisfaction Survey that's so valuable to us. What's shown on this screen is the positive trend of our feedback from our members. This past year, when we asked the question to our members, overall, how satisfied are you with Lake Region Electric Cooperative, we received a 9 out of 10. This shows that nice positive trend over the last several years of increasing member satisfaction. But the best part by far from these surveys is your actual comments that you give to us. They are so meaningful to us. I think some of the most meaningful comments are the positive comments we get back from our members that are directed specifically at the great job that the employees of Lake Region do day in and day out serving you. Several employees here tonight, so thankful for their efforts to keep the power flowing and keep our lights on for them. They do such a wonderful job. The thing that's really cool about those member comments is you'll see comments like, when I called in and talked to, and they even have the employee's first name, and the employee was so kind and polite. That's who we want to be. We've got a lineman here tonight. Think about their job, restoring power. Members' comments, we're so thankful for the guys in Otter Tail, Jason, sorry, for when they came out and restored our power. And they were so personable and knowledgeable, and all they do out there, it's wonderful. We love getting that feedback. We share that with the employees, of course. We share that across the organization, but thank you for those comments. We also get a lot of comments on our rates and reliability, and I want to talk about both of those things this evening. Let's start with reliability. I hope you agree with me. I like to say reliability is king. Nothing works very good in our economy. Nothing works very good in our house without electricity. We've got to have good reliability. What this chart shows is over the years how we've done things to drive outage times out of our grid. Back in 2004, on average, a member was out of power about 4.4 hours per year. We've done a lot of things, including reinvesting in our grid, tree trimming, etc., to get those outages down to a level where this past year, total outage times per member, and these numbers do not include transmission-related outages or extreme storms like we saw in May and June, but down to 1.8. That's a 57% decrease over that period of time. We've done a lot of grid improvements. I want to share some of those with you, and of course that tree clearing. The other thing we do, this green part of this 1.8 hours, that 0.45, those are planned outages. So when we know we've got a major project, say in your area, we'll notify you ahead. We've got a planned outage in your area. We need to have the power turned off for a 4-hour block, say that day. It's just a safer and quicker way to do the project and then get back on for you. So we have some planned outages that are part of that 1.88 as well. I want to talk about a big project in this immediate area that is improving reliability, and that's the Great River Energy Frazee transmission level substation upgrade. This is about a $10 million project. Most of that work is now completed back in 2021. There is one component, the new transmission line that's going to be built to that substation is projected to be completed this year, bringing another transmission line into that sub, bringing another source of power into that sub. That's a really good thing for us. This project has increased reliability to the Evergreen substation, the Butler substation, Frazee, and Burlington. Those 4 substations are served off that large GRE Frazee transmission substation. The good news for reliability is transmission-related outages with this project have gone from an average of 4 per year down to 0. Now, 4 to 0, maybe that doesn't sound like a lot, but when there's an outage at the substation level, each outage takes a lot of people out of power. So this is one of the good projects we've done that should be improving your reliability. I hope you have been able to notice that yourself. This is a bigger view of some of the big projects that we've done across our territory. Right here is the Frazee substation I just mentioned. We've also built a new Lake Eunice substation and a new transmission line over in that part of our territory. This Schuster Lake substation, that's near Perham, that's a brand new Great River Energy substation. There wasn't a sub there before. This is a new one, again, bringing more reliability and a new source of energy into our area. GRE has also upgraded their Henning substation that serves a couple of Lake Region distribution substations. And then the 10-mile Lake sub, that's a Lake Region sub, we've upgraded that. And what I want to show you on this is these green shaded areas, because of just these 5 projects alone, all the members in those green shaded areas should be experiencing better reliability now because of these 5 projects. Total dollars, $22 million for these 5 projects over about 4 years. Over 20,000 of our consumers should be having better reliability now. That's almost 70% of our entire customer base. So a lot of big projects are coming to fruition and being completed. Hopefully you are experiencing that improved reliability. Another project in this general area, just wanted to mention in case you've seen some activity in this area, Lake Region is going to be building a new Hobart substation. Anybody kind of familiar with this area? There's Highway 60, the former Highway 228. Yep, Highway 10's up here. The Viking Pipeline Station is there. It's a pretty big facility. They're going to be further electrifying their processes. So they're going to be using a lot more electricity in the future. So we've been working with them in their planning process over the last couple of years. That white arrow over there is the location right at their plant there. We're going to build a new substation. This green line right here, that's a new Great River Energy transmission line to serve our new substation to bring more power to that large customer of ours. This is really good news for Lake Region because of the size of this customer. That's really going to be good for us over the long term. So the green line's the transmission. The red line, we're going to take about 2 miles of overhead line there and put them underground, kind of make room for that transmission line going through that area. So if you're wondering what's going on there, that's what this is. Another thing that we've done is our new Distribution Grid Improvement Program, or DGIP as we like to call it. Again, this is a map of our entire service territory. This DGIP program is all about utilizing the new technology available to us, being innovative, and having further employee engagement. With our data analytics and all of our outage history, we can identify the worst performing areas of our system, the worst performing circuits, the areas where members are having the most outages. We said, let's look at the top 10 of the worst performing areas. These green circles across our territory, those are those 10 worst performing areas. We give that information to our linemen, and we ask them to go out and take a look at these areas. Let them put their eyes on it. Who better than to look at these situations than our linemen who are out there every day working on those lines? They went out, analyzed them, came back with a lot of good ideas. We ran that through our engineering department, made some decisions. We are now working these 10 projects. The ones in green are now completed. The ones that are kind of that light reddish color are not completed yet. But when these 10 are done, 3,256 members live in those 10 areas. They should be experiencing improved reliability once we get those projects all completed. Another thing we're doing is really exciting is we're using new technology. This is our Exactor technology. And I just want to say, it is so exciting to work at a co-op where our board of directors supports new ideas, new technology that's designed to serve you better. Just love that about our cooperative. So we are now using this exactor technology to prevent outages. We can find little problems on our system before they become big problems and cause outages for you. How it works, by the way, approximately 37% of our outages are caused by equipment failure or unknown causes. So this exactor technology, how it works is, the first step is this picture on the other side there with the truck. That box on the hood, that's part of the exactor technology. In a vehicle driving at normal speed limits parallel to the power line, as you travel down that road with the power line right beside you, it's sensing that power line, collecting data. You make 4 passes along that line, and all the time it's collecting data. Once it's collected that data, it gives us a report. It says, go to these individual specific areas and further analyze the material, the equipment is there. So that process took us to a pole like this, to this location. We go there, this handheld device is scanned across the material and the equipment at the top of that pole. There's 3 insulators up there, and when you move across it, if it makes a certain sound, you know you've found your problem. A piece of equipment that's in a pre-fail state. And what's so great about this is, not only does it allow us to change out that insulator in this case to prevent an outage that might have happened for you, but it's wonderful for our employees and our linemen. For example, if the lineman can go out and replace that insulator on a beautiful, nice day like this, and that's just a win for us in terms of our safety versus waiting until it fails. Might fail at night. It might fail during a storm, and it would cause an outage. It's just a much more calm and routine situation like this versus waiting until there's a stressful outage. So it helps with our safety as well. We have now scanned 1,400 miles of our power lines. We'll eventually get around our whole system and continue to improve your reliability. Another new part of our technology, this is really interesting to me. As you know, in our system, we have a lot of trees we have to deal with. In fact, trees cause about 22% of our power outages, and we are trying to take our vegetation management program to the next level, up to 2.0, I like to say, by utilizing AI-technology. The board of directors approved this technology last summer. We don't have it fully implemented yet. The board of directors also, just in our 23 budget, just approved more dollars to spend for tree clearing, up to $2 million. So going into the new year here, very shortly, we're going to have this new information from AI-. And how it works is we're now going to be using satellite imagery of our system is captured from multiple angles. This AI- technology monitors the clearances between the power line and the trees near the power line, ultimately creating a comprehensive tree trimming plan for us. It's going to share with us those clearances. Where are our worst clearance issues? We're going to go there first. It's going to give us a multi-year plan. It's going to give us estimated costs of what that plan is going to cost us over, say, a 3, 4, 5-year cycle to get around our whole system. And hopefully we can knock down that 22% of outages caused by trees there. All right, shifting gears just a little bit, but staying with the theme of reliability. One of the questions we get a lot nowadays is, are we going to have rolling blackouts in Minnesota? What have we all seen in California? Rolling blackouts. What have we seen in Texas? Rolling blackouts. What have we just recently seen down in the Tennessee Valley Authority area? Rolling blackouts. Can they happen here? Will they happen here? Do the best I can to answer that question for you. What we have on the slide here is the MISO winter peak forecast. Now, what's MISO? M-I-S-O. That is the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. Think of MISO as the grid operator. And they are operating the grid over a very large part of the Mid-Continent, from Canada down to the Gulf of Mexico, a total of about 15 states. MISO as a grid operator is somewhat analogous to air traffic controllers in the airline industry. Bud, how'd you like that one? You like that one? Okay, yeah. Hope that helps you understand what the grid operator is. But what's important is these forecasts over here. So going into this winter, what MISO was saying, again, this is a huge area, 15 states. Going into the winter, they said the lighter blue there in December, for example, just shy of 100, that's gigawatts, of a load. That's how much They were projecting the highest part of the peak would be in December for all the electricity that we use. You can see that the darker bar right next to it, that's the capacity. So the good news is there's a good difference between what they were forecasting we would use and the forecast of how much generation that we would actually have. And the difference between those two is called excess capacity. So in MISO, we're in a position where we have excess capacity. The concern, though, is that reserve margin, or that excess capacity, as it's called, we have a goal of keeping that at 7.65%. That's shrunk just a little bit in the last couple of years, down to about 6.75%. So we got to make sure that there's adequate reserves there so we have enough power during those cold winter days and those hot summer days. Great River Energy, our power supplier, is prepared for these winter peaks. Let's talk about where our power comes from. I had a really good question already tonight on this topic. I would like to share with you the generation resources that Great River Energy has. Let's start with our natural gas-fired power plants. These are peaking plants. These two large circles down here, those are both natural gas-fired peaking plants, and there's two more up in this area of the state. This lighter colored white there, if you can see that outline on the screen, that's the Great River Energy footprint. We are one of the co-ops that they serve. Of course, Lake Region is right in this general area here. So Great River Energy has 4 natural gas power plants. The question I got, thank you, related to what if something happens to the natural gas supply, like a coal plant? They've got a pile of coal right there. For their kind of insurance, they've got enough fuel. What if something happens to the natural gas line for these gas plants? What Great River Energy strategy has been, you'll see that these 3 gas plants, they're both purple and blue. If you look over there, the blue represents natural gas fuel. The purple represents fuel oil. So normally they run off natural gas. If something happened to the natural gas supply, they've got on-site storage of fuel oil that can be used to power those power plants. They're dual fuel, so they get some flexible fuel units. They can run off gas or fuel oil. That's a really nice thing from a redundancy standpoint, from a reliability standpoint. Cambridge Station, this 4th gas plant, does not have, at this time, fuel oil backup, but they're in the midst of working on that now, getting permits, et cetera, to add fuel oil to that one as well. So all 4, fairly soon here, will have that backup fuel supply. This larger circle here in the Minneapolis area, that represents what's called the Rainbow Purchase. You may recall last year, Great River Energy sold a coal-fired power plant out in North Dakota called Coal Creek Station. They sold it to Rainbow Energy. As part of that transaction, GRE agreed to buy 500 megawatts of power back from Rainbow Energy. This is where that power is delivered. It's produced out in North Dakota. It's transmitted down a high-voltage direct current line to this area into the Minnesota market, which is a really good thing for us. In addition to that 500 megawatts of power from Rainbow, GRE is also working as part of a new wind farm out in North Dakota, where they're going to be transporting 400 megawatts of wind power from North Dakota down into, again, to the Minnesota market. That's a good thing for us. This other circle right here, that's the Spiritwood station out in North Dakota that Great River Energy owns. It was built as a coal-fired power plant not that long ago. It is also dual fuel now, too. It can run off coal or natural gas. These colored circles are wind farms that Great River Energy buys power from. Great River Energy does have about 850 megawatts of wind today. There are plans to add more in the future, about another 1,000 megawatts by 2025. And they've got a small solar project there, but it's not really that material. And then at Lake Region, we want to continue to build local generation assets that make sense for us. We've done a little bit of renewable projects. If they make good economic sense for the members, we would like to do some more of that. Under our agreement with Great River Energy, we can do about 10% at the local level. Just one more slide on these power plants, because to me this is so important for us as members of Lake Region. These are just up-close pictures of the 4 natural gas peaking plants there. And the quote from David Segu about reliability says, "We have a fleet of modern natural gas plants in Minnesota that provide all hours reliability And again, that's from David Segue, the CEO at Great River Energy. Also get questions about the future. You know, we read and hear about this energy transition that we're in our country, moving towards cleaner resources. And so just want to do the best I can to kind of give you a glimpse of what the future is bringing and what that looks like. The picture over here on your left, the plan, the new generation, all those little dots represent some form of new planned generation of electricity. This picture comes right off this MISO website. You can go online and look at it. Most of those little circles on there are new wind farms, new solar farms. There's a handful of new natural gas-fired power plants in there. There's one coal plant. So that's the MISO footprint there in the mid-continent there. The other thing that's super important is transmission lines. There's a major initiative going on in the MISO footprint to add very large transmission lines in the Midwest. These blue lines represent the kind of the corridors, if you will, for the future expansions of the bulk transmission system in our area. So these lines are the really big structures. They're not the transmission lines that you see in our area that serve our substations, for example. These will look more like the newer structures along I-94. When you drive from Fargo down to Minneapolis, those big newer ones, 345 voltage, very large structures. The reason these are needed is because there's congestion, for example, on the grid, the transmission grid, and these new large transmission lines will allow that electricity to flow where it needs to be at the right time. This first tranche, as it's called, of projects from MISO over the next decade or so, we're talking about $10 billion worth of projects with a B, and there's already a MISO Phase 2 being planned for additional transmission beyond Phase 1. So just try to give you a little glimpse of what the future is going to look like, both from a generation standpoint and from a transmission perspective as well. All right, shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about our rates. Another question we get is, I see on the news, price of energy, the price of electricity is going to go up this winter, 10%, 20%. We've probably all seen those stories. Let's talk about our rates. First of all, I want to just talk about a little bit of our rate history. Those blue years over there, from 2006 to 2012 or so, boy, those were years we were having pretty frequent power rate increases. Nobody like that. And Lake Region, Great River Energy, we asked ourselves, what can we do different so this doesn't continue? We made a lot of changes. We got into this green year period from 2013 to 2023. We kind of achieved our goal of rate stability. As Bud mentioned, in the last 10 years or so, we've only had one increase, 4.3% back in 2017. You can see that on the chart there. But we get the question, what's it look like going forward? So I just want to talk about that and explain our next rate adjustment here. So the Board of Directors has approved a rate adjustment for September of 2023, later this year. We wanted to have plenty of time to communicate that to the members before it went into effect. It's going to be about a 5% overall increase in revenue for the co-op, to give you a feel of the magnitude. We try to look out as far as we can, the best we can, with our financial forecast, with our rate forecast. Our best look right now, and you can imagine how many variables go into those models, inflation being the big one. Maybe about out in 2028 would be another time period where we might need to bring in new revenue based on all the forecasts that we have today. So before I talk about the rate changes, I just want to touch again on the last 10 years or so, this rate stability that we've enjoyed. We've done a lot of new things. Our employees have done a fantastic job with all these things. We did a small wind solar hybrid project that saves us some money on our power bill to Great River Energy. And as you know, anytime we can save a little money here or there, or create a new revenue stream for our co-op, then it's less dollars the board has to build into your electric rates. So it's a very good thing for us. We started a natural gas company to bring natural gas to some small communities, some rural areas, some agricultural producers, to bring natural gas to those areas for the first time. That both saves the electric cooperative dollars because we can take fixed costs, allocate them off the electric cooperative into the natural gas company, and those costs are recovered through the rates of the natural gas customers. In addition, of course, that creates a new revenue stream for Lake Region, so it's a really positive financial impact for us. We have now installed over 400 generators for residential customers of Lake Region. That creates a new revenue stream. And as we're spending this much money on tree clearing, it just makes strategic sense to be an owner of the company that does all that tree clearing for us. So we became an owner of Carr's Tree Service. And as an owner, we share in the financial success of Carr's Tree Service as we get a dividend every year. Again, bringing new dollars into Lake Region that didn't exist before. Let's talk about the rates and why. That question of why is the cost of electricity going up? The main reason why the cost of electricity is going up is because of higher natural gas prices. That blue line in that graph there, that shows the run-up of the price of natural gas over the last 2 or 3 years. It's been pretty significant, as you can see from that graph. Just back in 2020, for example, natural gas was at $2.39. That has gone up here in 2023 up into that $5.66 range. That's a 137% increase in the price of natural gas over a very short period of time. You can see on the graph, the blue again, it actually was higher than that, and now it's come back down just a little bit. So why does natural gas have such an impact on the price of electricity? A lot of our electricity comes from natural gas. And so at the wholesale level, the generation level, if we're using natural gas to produce electricity, that's going to drive up the wholesale cost. And that's what Great River Energy, our generation and transmission cooperative, is dealing with. They're experiencing higher costs at the wholesale level. Eventually, they have to pass that along to us at Lake Region. They notified us in September that January 1st, just a few days ago, our rates would be going up. So they're now passing that cost on to us at Lake Region. And eventually, we have to pass that on to the members, and that will start in September with this rate adjustment that the board has approved. The other big thing is the higher cost of material. The big one being transformers. Look at the price increase here. This 15 kVA transformer just a couple years ago was $1,100. Today, almost doubled, $2,100. That has a real significant impact on our cost structure, as you can imagine. So it's just really important that we understand the why. Why is electricity going up? These are the two biggest reasons, and natural gas is by far the driver. So let's ask more questions. Why are we changing our rates in September of 2023? Why is your board of directors already made the decision to change our rates in September of 2023? The first reason is because the wholesale cost of power is increasing, and we need to collect about 5% more revenue from the membership to cover that higher cost. The second reason why we're changing our rates is so the higher monthly facility charge in the new rates that members will pay will actually match the cost of providing electric service. Or think of all that infrastructure, the fixed cost that it takes to bring electricity to your house. That cost of service study that we did says that's $39. And so the $24 service charge is going to be raised up to $39 to match the actual cost. Well, by doing that, number three, so the lower energy rate that members will pay with this rate change will more closely align with the cost of providing the electricity to your home. So the facility charge, the fixed component of your rate structure, is going to go up, and then the variable cost, the kilowatt hour charge, is going to go down, and I want to dive into that with you. Here's the new rates. Here's the current facility charge, $24. That'll be going to $39 effective September 1st. Again, based on a cost of service study that we had done. The energy charge there for the summer months is currently 12.2 cents. That's going to go down to 11 cents. The other months of the year, that 10.9 cents we pay now is going to go down to 9.6 cents. So what's important here is depending on how much electricity you use, you're going to be impacted differently. If you're a small user or a large user, it's going to impact you differently. And I got some examples that I want to show about that. But first of all, let's talk a little bit more about this facility charge. What is a facility charge? Why do we have one? Those types of questions. Let's take a look at what it takes for that power to flow to your home. If we start over on that part of the slide, the first box there, the substation. A substation today is well over $1 million of cost, about $1.2 million. From that substation, the poles and wires, the power lines out there run from those substations, of course, to your home. Members live 10 miles, 11 miles, 13, 14 miles from a substation. Each mile of line can cost anywhere from $60,000 to $90,000, depending on what type of line that is, single phase or three phase. A lot of expensive infrastructure. Bucket trucks, over $200,000 for one bucket truck. The equipment that our linemen need to do the great job that they do of operating our grid and maintaining our grid. Takes a transformer for all of us at our residence. And of course, it takes a meter. So a lot of expensive infrastructure, a lot of fixed costs for that power to flow from your home to your home. So what we've done is we've hired an outside rate consultant, Star Energy. Their engineer took a look at all of our costs and did this cost of service study, presented that to us, presented that to the board of directors. Your board of directors debated this for quite a while, very healthy discussion in the boardroom. That cost of service study says for all of these things that it takes to get electricity to your home. So when you go home from this meeting tonight, when you flip that switch, your lights come on. Everything it takes to do that costs us $39 a month. So if the cost is $39 a month, all the board of directors is doing is simply raising the rate to match that $39. I hope that makes sense. The cost is $39. We as members, let's pay $39. And by doing that, we're going to lower the energy rate. So based on how much energy you use, that part of your bill will actually go down. So one of the questions or comments we get in our member satisfaction survey is, our rates are too high compared to town residents. And this really gets at the facility charge. The reason why electricity is generally going to be more expensive in a rural area is because it takes so much infrastructure to serve a relatively small number of customers spread out across a very large geographical area. These two pictures hopefully kind of paint that for you. This really nice looking rural countryside setting there. As you drive down that road, what do you see? You see a lot of infrastructure, a lot of poles and wires. You see a few houses. So for Lake Region, for every 1 mile of power line that we only have 5 customers per mile of power line. XL Energy, for example, who serves the towns. And by the way, 85 years ago when Lake Region was formed, they didn't want to serve the rural areas. The co-ops were formed to do that. Well, XL serves towns. Look how close the customers are there. And you only see one pole in that picture. So their ratio of customers per mile, they have 46 customers per mile. I like to use these wires to explain this a little bit further. This wire right here represents 1 mile of power line for Lake Region Electric. For every 1 mile of power line to Lake Region Electric, I don't know if you can see these very well, but there's 5 pieces of tape on this wire. That's 5 customers per mile of line. So at Lake Region, 5 customers got to pay for that mile of line. If we take a look and compare what a mile of line would look like at XL Energy, if this is 1 mile of XL Energy's power line, look at all those customers. There's 46 customers per mile of line to pay for their cost of 1 mile of power line. So if you kind of break that down into our rate structure, we've got 5 customers per mile of line. We're charging $39 under the new rate starting in September. They've got 46. They only need to charge about $8 to collect their cost of that fixed resource. If you're curious like I am about how our $39 per month facility charge will compare to other utilities, let's take a look at that. So the ones that are less than us, down in the corner down there, those are the large investor-owned utilities like XL, like Minnesota Power, as well as municipal utilities who only serve towns and cities. They don't serve the rural area. There we are in the green at 39. Most of these out here are all co-ops. Some are up to over $50, but we're in the $39 range. I think other utilities too are going through some rate adjustments during this period of time. So this slide is going to need to be updated to do a true comparison, but we've already updated our 39. We sense that others might be increasing too on their facility charge as we go forward, and we'll update that as we go forward. So we've talked about a lot of things here. We've talked about the why. Why is electricity going up? Natural gas prices, transformer prices, right? Higher costs in general. We've talked about this rate structure change that we're making where the facility charge goes up, the energy charge goes down. Well, how does that affect all of us as individual consumers, as members of Lake Region Electric Cooperative? Here's some high-level examples. Let's say you use 500 kilowatt hours per month, so you're a relatively small user. Well, think about that. If your facility charge goes up from 24 to 39 and your energy rate goes down and you're a smaller user, the savings on your energy reduction isn't going to offset that higher facility charge, right? So in that scenario at 500 kilowatt hours, that member would see about an $8.50 per month increase. Now, if you're a little bigger user, more in the middle somewhere, about 1,000 kilowatt hours, that member would see about a $2 per month increase. And if you're a larger user at 2,000 kilowatt hours per month, your bill would actually go down by $11 because the energy is going to be cheaper for what you use. Now, I hope when you came in this evening, you saw our rate booth out there. What we really wanted to achieve tonight on this rate issue is we wanted all of you, you're so good to come out on a cold night to join us for a district meeting. We would like, when you go home, if you're interested, we'd like you to know exactly what this impact of this change is to you. So our wonderful team and staff developed a bill calculator, and we can do a pretty quick calculation and give you a printout of your situation based on here's your cost for your electricity today. How does that compare to the new rates? You can see if it goes up or down for you. And so if you're interested in that and you haven't done that yet, we'll be glad to do that for you. Again, we just want you to know what your situation is depending on your usage. So see our rate team if you haven't already. The other change that Bud mentioned was the the load management rates. So the big one is the dual fuel rate. A lot of customers on dual fuel. Those rates did go up January 1st here. And on our dual fuel program, believe it or not, we haven't changed those rates since 2008. Done a really good job of keeping those rates flat for a long time. The average dual fuel user with this increase that's taken effect in January here will see approximately a $14 per month increase during those heating months of the year from November through March. If you compare the cost of heating with electricity to propane, it's still a little less expensive than propane for you. Transitioning to how is your cooperative doing financially? 2022 was a solid year for us. This is our consolidated financial statement, meaning both our electric and our natural gas business combined and consolidated together. These are estimated results. We don't have the books for December closed yet, of course. So these are our best estimate. The actuals will be a little different than this, but they're pretty close. $55 million of operating revenue. Our expenses, do a good job of controlling our expenses. Last summer, as you probably well know, we experienced a lot of storms. And when those storms hit us that hard and we have that much damage, they're very expensive. We had about $1 million, a little over $1 million of cost back in that late May, June timeframe when all those storms were hitting us. So that's factored in here, of course. But nonetheless, still a nice solid margin at the end of the year of about $3.3 million. With a nice margin like that, that continues to increase the equity of your cooperative. This chart just shows the increase in equity over the last 15 years or so from 23 million up to 68 million, a very strong equity position for Lake Region, a very strong balance sheet. With that strong balance sheet, just again, so proud of our co-op. Board of Directors last fall again made the decision. $1.8 million were paid out to members last year for capital credits. That's wonderful. That comes to you now in 3 different pieces. The new one is this CFC line. Interesting story. One of our lenders, their name is CFC. CFC is 100% owned by the American Electric Cooperatives, and of course Lake Region is one of those. They're a cooperative form of ownership just like we are. Their margins are allocated back to us and eventually retired, and now we're just passing those back on to the membership, back to you. So that's now 10 consecutive years of record capital credit retirements, and nearly $35 million of capital credits have been paid back to our members since the first year Lake Region retired capital credits back in 1958. Well, as a member-owned electric cooperative, we absolutely are in the people business, and anything we can do to help people, we're interested in doing that. One of our best programs is our Operation Roundup program. If you're not familiar with that, how that works is we as members can opt to check a box and allow the co-op to round up my power bill every month to the next dollar. So on average, it's 50 cents a month. That 50 cents a month goes into a pool of dollars. Volunteers from the membership serve on the Lake Region Roundup Board of Directors. They make the decisions where those dollars are paid out to in our communities. Here's just 3 pictures of some of the organizations that have been beneficiaries of those Operation Roundup dollars. The Dunville Shooting Club is an example, a kids quilting camp near Henning, and the East Otter Tail 4-H Club. Operation Roundup does so much good in our communities. This has been going on since 2007, and we've now paid out over $500,000 back into local organizations to help out across our community. In closing, I always like to just say I hope that you feel that your cooperative is committed to serving you. If you don't feel that way, please let us know. Talk to me, talk to the board of directors, talk to the employees. We absolutely want to work on whatever that topic or issue might be and serve you to the best of our ability. Thank you very much. At this time, we'd love to take some of your questions. I know there's some good questions out there. And if I'll even start it. How's that? Can I ask one to start it? As we talk about these rates, does it make sense that if that's the actual cost, just to simply match that, that's all we're doing? I hope that makes good sense to you. I think it really positions us for the future to collect the right amount of dollars for all that infrastructure. But anyway, any feedback on that, on the rate change? I know your board of directors really appreciate that. Any feedback, any comments? So love to take some questions here. Did I answer the question well enough on the fuel supply? Did I answer the question on the fuel supply? Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep moving. Yes, sir.
Electric cars, what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, we're experimenting with that, learning about that, trying to prepare for, as members, what we have to do as members buy those and start using them. Obviously, we got to supply the electricity. A couple things that are important. We've got a couple options for rates for electric vehicles. One of the keys for us is to get those mainly to charge in the garage at night, not during the day on our peaks. That's going to be a real key to success for us. As far as what we think, let's be honest. In our climate, it's a real challenge, right? We all know that those batteries don't perform as well in the cold winter. We have a Ford Mach-E in our fleet. It's a day-to-day driver, and it's the degradation in the winter is real. The technology is pretty neat, fun to drive, that kind of thing. But I think we got a lot to learn yet about electric vehicles. But we want to be part of the solution. If that technology is going to take off, we're going to have to be the provider of electricity for it. And so that's what we're focused on. Probably all aware of what the manufacturers are doing. They're really pushing for more electric vehicles, decisions they're making in their manufacturing. So, but I think in our rural area, I think in our cold climate, I think we're going to be a lagger in terms of adoption rates. Does that make sense? Yeah. If you ever want to drive one, let us know. You can come take one for a test drive. More questions? Yes, sir.
Talk about outage. What's the definition of an outage? Like if we just reset the digital clock in our house, is that an outage?
Yeah, great question. Yep, there's those blinks and kind of momentaries, if you will, and they're sustained. Al, help me out with the definition of the momentary.
So a definition of a momentary outage is going to be 5 minutes or less. It's actually going to probably be seconds. But a momentary is we're not rolling a crew. Jason and his crewmate don't have to get in the truck, go out and physically fix something. Something happened on the line, a piece of equipment reacted to it, opened up. Maybe it was a tree branch. Branch cleared, it disappeared, it came back on, we didn't have to roll it through. That's a momentary outage. That tree stays on the line, the fuse pops, the OCR opens, we have to come out, clear the line, reset the device. That's going to be a longer outage, maybe an hour or two.
Okay, great question. I thought I saw another. Yes, sir.
How about irrigation rates and load management for three-phase?
Great question. Those are going to be changing as well. Let's start with irrigation. One of the things as a member-owned co-op we want to do is we want to do a very good job of communicating these rate changes to members. We are actually working. Are you an irrigator by chance? Or are you an irrigator by chance? Yeah, great. Thank you. So we are going to hold 2 meetings, specifically and only on the irrigation rate changes. I don't know if Steve, if you want to talk a little bit more about those, but what's interesting is for the irrigation rate changes, with the September effective date, if that's not till September of 2023, right, the impact to you won't be until that next year, but you will be receiving a letter from us inviting you to a meeting. We're actually going to have our rate consultant there. We're going to spend a good amount of time on irrigation rates, and so I hope you can attend that meeting. Steve, add a little bit that to you, please.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit there. So we're looking at holding a couple meetings in February. One will be in Perm and one will be in Carpus Prairie. So all the irrigators will get a letter inviting you to those meetings. So we just want to, put everything on the table and hear your feedback. Make a presentation on what the rates are, how much value there is to having them on load management. We still want to keep that, so it's definitely a savings if we can keep it off of our billing fee each month.
Okay. How's that sound? Have a meeting on it? Awesome. Thank you. Yes, I thought I saw one other hand a minute ago. Yes, sir.
Who's Great River Energy?
Thank you. Good question. Great River Energy, or GRE as we call it, we own part of Great River Energy. They're a generation and transmission cooperative. One of our board members is seated on the GRE board. So Mike Brazel, who's not here tonight, is part of the Great River Energy Board of Directors. The board is made up of a representative from all the members across Minnesota. So they own the power plants. They own most of the transmission lines that serve their co-ops in the state of Minnesota. So when I was talking about those GRE generation, that's Great River Energy. They're headquartered down in Maple Grove.
Is it a co-op or is
Yes, sir.
it by the co-op?
Yes, exactly. Lake Region is one of... It's not, no. We are about 3.5% ownership of that large generation and transmission cooperative. They are absolutely a cooperative. They do capital credits just like we do. They set their rates. Local people are on their board to set rates and things like that. It's a beautiful cooperative family and model from generation to transmission, and we're the distribution at the local level.
Is it just Minnesota?
Yeah, primarily. They've got a little bit of one of the co-ops, East Central Energy. They serve a little bit into Wisconsin. There might be a southern Minnesota co-op that serves a little bit into Iowa and maybe into South Dakota, but yeah, generally Minnesota. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hey, can you explain the rainbow
Yes.
purchase, which is still going to be a coal power plant?
Yes. So.
Minnesota says no more coal energy, which is going to impact our rates significantly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So Great River Energy, our generation and transmission cooperative that we're an owner of, back in I believe it was the late 70s, 1970s, is when that power plant, that coal-fired power plant in North Dakota was built. Coal Creek Station is the name of the coal-fired power plant. For things you mentioned, just GRE analyzed cost, and the decision was based on economics. The plant was not performing well economically. And so we're fortunate that there was a buyer out there, Rainbow Energy. They bought the coal-fired power plant from Great River Energy and that transmission line that runs from the plant down to the Minneapolis area that can haul that power into the Minnesota market. As part of that transaction and selling of the power plant to Rainbow, GRE entered into an agreement to buy power from Rainbow over the next 10 years or so at that 500 megawatt level, and also negotiated to where they could use that power line for the additional 400 megawatts of wind energy to come from North Dakota into the Minnesota market. Is that?
So we'll still purchase coal energy then?
Yeah, the energy that's going to come from Rainbow is maybe technically it's not directly coming from the Coal Creek Station, but in effect, yeah, it's coming from Rainbow Energy and it's coming down that DC line, much like it always has. Yep. So we've got a good mix, of coal, a good mix of natural gas. Yeah, wind is going to be more predominant going forward, but we really like this all-of-the-above strategy to the extent we can. We've got to have reliability. And in Minnesota, we're probably all aware of some of the policies, right, legislation in our state that is pushing for more renewables. And we have been an early adopter of some level of wind energy and things, particularly at the Great River Energy level. We've exceeded the state mandates in terms of renewable energy. But our concern, honestly, is reliability. When you operate at the operational level like we do, we're the ones, Jason, all of us, we got to keep the lights on. And so reliability is super important to us. And when we talk to our legislators, when we talk to our regulators, that's what we advocate for, is reliability. When it's 35 below out, we all know what we need to have reliability. So these are great questions. Thank you. All right. Are we good? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
I want to thank you all for coming out this evening. Your engagement is greatly appreciated at these meetings. Before we adjourn the meeting tonight, I want to remind you all of the annual meeting on April 13 at the Life Church in Fergus Falls at 6 p.m. We will again be offering the in-person meeting here at the Frazee Event Center and the Prairie Event Center in Parker's Prairie. We'll also be live streaming the annual meeting for those of you who cannot attend one of the locations, but I hope you can get out that evening. I hope you can really get there in person, but if you can't, remember you can live stream to stay engaged with the cooperative. Again, thank you very much, and be safe heading home this evening.